What's up, everyone? This is your Florida boy original, Jonathan Cepero, and you are watching Driven, the show that is all things alternative Christian music in Florida. We've got a lot in store for you on the program today. We've got some great music videos coming at you. Plus, we'll be interviewing a great band that tours in Florida over the summer, and we'll be talking about reaping the benefits of using our possessions in a godly way. We've got all that and more coming at you right here. You're watching Driven.
So here at Driven, we are believers in being the change we want to see. So on today's program, we have a local segment that highlights the things that young people do to make a difference in their corner of Florida. And today's story comes from North Florida.
Our story takes place in the Big Bend area of the Florida Panhandle. It begins with a church located in our state capital of Tallahassee. Here at Killarney Methodist Church, where a group of youth and adults packed up a few vehicles with lumber, tools, and other materials, headed west to the town of Gretna. Here at this house live Arthur May and Henry Williams. Henry's right leg had gone numb recently, and he was confined to getting around on a wheelchair. He was also recently put on a regimen of dialysis treatments at the hospital. On days like the ones that Henry goes in for dialysis, it is a burden for him to make trips up and down his front steps. That's when the Williamses reached out for help to someone they had kept in contact with for several years. John Stott, who attends Killarney Methodist Church, actually has a ministry that builds wheelchair ramps for those that need a ramp but can't afford to pay for it themselves. John has been doing this for 15 years. When the Williamses were in need of a ramp to help Henry travel in and out of the house easier with his wheelchair, they called on John to see if it was possible to have one built for their home.
We were called about 2 weeks ago by the family requesting this, so we agreed that we would do it, and then we went out to try to raise the money. And the first call was to the missions director at Killarney United Methodist, and he liked the idea when I told him about it. Said he would give us up to $500 for materials. And then I approached my men's Bible study, a group of 10 men that meet every Thursday morning, and collected about $800 from that group. And then the youth director, Lane Gilbert, said he'd pitch in $250, as well. So we actually, within the matter of like 5 days, raised over $1,300.
The group primarily consisted of 8 youth and 4 adults. I also went along for the ride, not just to document this occasion, but also to contribute to the effort. John Stott never laid out any blueprints on paper to show us what he pictured the ramp to look like. Actually, aside from making some measurements, John directed us based on the picture in his head. So it wasn't until midway through production that even I was astonished by the way this so-called ramp was turning out. This thing was becoming more than just a ramp for the Williamses. When I saw the Williamses' grandchildren and other people come out and help as well, I knew this was turning into a big deal.
And so we worked right on the crew supper time, and about 8 o'clock we finally finished it. And so at that point, a lot of neighbors had gathered, and his family had gathered there, and sons and daughters and grandkids and everybody. So at 8 o'clock, one of his sons pushed him in his wheelchair up the ramp, all the way up to the top deck or porch that we had built. And everybody was clapping and cheering, and Mr. Williams was smiling from ear to ear, and it was like a big celebration. And everybody was excited, and a lot of people were wiping away tears because it was a very moving thing.
The group drove out to Gretna on 2 occasions to finish working on the Williamses' home, but it was well worth it. The Williamses' project looked more like something that should be featured on Home and Garden. In the end, the Williamses' new addition was plush with a wraparound ramp, staircase, a party deck, and handrails all around. The Williamses were so thankful for the group coming out, taking time out of their weekends to help out someone that most of the group didn't even know. And the group also felt great knowing that they helped to fill a need in the Williams household. I think Mrs. Williams said something earlier that described it best.
Yes, Lord, they're doing a beautiful job. Oh yeah, this is beautiful, nice people.
Yep.
Reverend John, Mother Scott, each and every one, they're doing a beautiful job.
Great story, isn't it? But the story doesn't end there. Afterwards, John Stott gave the Williamses some outdoor furniture to furnish their new area. And if you think we're done, no, the Stotts are even now looking to get the Williamses an awning for their new wheelchair/deck area. And it doesn't end there. While we were working on this project, someone else came to visit John on site to see if one of John's famous wheelchair ramps would be possible at their home as well.
Broadcasting for Driven is endorsed by the following businesses. Cornerstone Tool and Fastener, serving the Big Bend area since 1995 with a diverse array of tools and fasteners to commercial, industrial, institutional, and residential construction markets. You can also find them online at www.ctf.new. And by Vital Impressions Painting, which specializes in exterior painting, interior custom work, pressure cleaning, wallpaper removal, texture application, as well as deck and concrete stains. Their phone number is 850-412-9228. Broadcasting for Driven is also endorsed by the following youth group ministries: Diverge Live in Tallahassee, Florida, Frequency in Tampa, Florida, Get Live in Tampa, Florida, Oasis Youth Experience in Miami, Florida, and End Time Warriors in Naples, Florida. For any questions concerning these endorsers or becoming an endorser for Driven, please email us at mailedriven@yahoo.com.
Green light, y'all don't sit still, come on. Green light, y'all move for real. Green light, y'all don't just chill, come on. Green light, y'all, what's the deal? Green light, y'all don't sit still, come on. Green light, y'all move for real. Green light, y'all don't just chill, come on. Green light, y'all, what's the deal? Let up the clutch and I mash the gas. Get over to the slowing cause I'm about to pass. Keep it moving, I roll with sun pads. Driven with a purpose, so my engine got an outlast. All too often my foot hit the brake. Pulled out the rake for some devil food cake. Crummies on my tail and I just wanna shake. Christ is the juice, I get jet so I take. Deleted this pack, I ain't hold it back. Got the truth and I ain't gonna slack. Therefore, I'ma breeze to your section. Separated and I got my protection. My message comes from election. He was crucified but then he resurrected. Low fuel engaging, detected. Engine trouble, let it stop for inspection. Green light, y'all don't sit still, come on. Green light, y'all move for real. Green light, y'all don't just chill, come on. Green light, y'all, what's the deal? Green light, y'all don't sit still, come on. Green light, y'all move for real. Green light, y'all don't just chill, come on. Green light, y'all, what's the deal? Stop. Now y'all ain't hearing me. You're praying through the light like you're part of the tyranny. Red, yellow, green, make it clear to see signs of the times like Messi on the prophecy. Don't miss this, ain't about the biscuits. Close your vistas and break your wristis. Now grab that steering discus. Your life, that's all the risk is. Y'all question what might happen. Not much till you stop that slacking. Hopes and dreams, thoughts of the future. Ain't nothing till you move with the groove, y'all. Beats bumping, God is up to something. Give it the flow, it's time to jump in. This traffic, oh so tragic. Hop on the bus so you melt like plastic. Green lights, y'all, don't sit still, come on. Green lights, y'all, move for real. Green lights, y'all, don't just chill, come on. Green lights, y'all, what's the deal? Green lights, y'all, don't sit still, come on. Green lights, y'all, move for real. Green lights, y'all, don't just chill, come on. Green lights, y'all, what's the deal? Yo, y'all moving too slow. The light turned green, but you just ain't know. Your face is all in your cell phone, radio, mirror. Wonder why the horn's blowing. Can't stand when I'm following slow, folks. Much respect, but I gotta pass old folks. Smile at you, but I'm really thinking of jokes. Uh-oh, I gotta get some Pepto Bismol, your drive-in is dismal. Cut me off, man, with your turn signal. Getting angry like I'm Lou Ferrigno. Hold it back, no raging for real, though. Drive 55 and I just can't lie. 70s zone, it makes me wanna fly. Stuck here, asking God why. You pray for patience, was his reply. Green lights, y'all, don't sit still, come on. Green lights, y'all, move for real. Green lights, y'all, don't just chill, come on. Green lights, y'all, what's the deal? Green lights, y'all, don't sit still, come on. Green lights, y'all, move for real. Green lights, y'all, don't just chill, come on. Green lights, y'all, what's the deal?
Well, guys, today our topic is possessions and how we can use our possessions in a godly way. In Luke 12 of the Bible, Jesus says that God knows us so well that He's the provider for our very needs, and that life is more than just acquiring a wealth of possessions for our own satisfaction. Well, unfortunately, we live in a world where sometimes the value of a person is measured by their possessions or how many possessions they have. If we go out there and acquire many possessions, or if we just try to acquire the right kind of possessions and make that a priority, then we are losing our identity in our possessions. And if we lose our identity in our possessions, then we become obsessive over our possessions, and we then end up literally losing our identity. So if you look at things that way, personally, I think that if I lived that way, I would just be fooling myself, thinking that possessions would give me value, that possessions would give me an identity. So we have to try and not be overly materialistic with our possessions. We live in a world where things can get broken, stolen, wither away. That's why we have things like insurance, guarantees, warranties, plus, our stuff is simply that. It's called our stuff. So our stuff, a collection of our stuff would only mean the most to us. I mean, yeah, some DVDs or stereo, yeah, that has value to somebody else. But when we combine our stuff together in like a room, or like in an apartment or in some other home, then that is part of who we are. So you guys might be familiar with the term, tomorrow's not promised to anyone, and that means that we might be here today and gone tomorrow. And if that's the case, I mean, we can't take our stuff to the afterlife when we die, if we were to die tomorrow, for example, so our stuff would stay here on earth. So that means that our stuff would either get divided up different ways amongst different people. So it could be left to a thrift store. Some of it might even end up in the trash. So when you think about your possessions in that light, I mean, kind of makes you wonder if our possessions are really that important. Is it really important to pursue having all these possessions when stuff like that can happen? I really can't directly answer questions like, well, Jonathan, I've been praying for a newer cell phone, or I've been praying for a nicer car, or I've been praying for a better home, and God is just not giving it to me. Well, guys, I really don't have a one-size-fits-all 100% answer for questions like that. God is the one that knows our motives, our true motives, when we pray for something. So, we might be praying for something like a cell phone or a car or a home or something else that is not really a need, but it's definitely a want that'd just be cool to have. and we're not getting it. Well, like I said, God knows our motives, so He knows that when we ask for stuff like that, God knows that stuff like that has possible long-range consequences that can affect our lives. And God is not necessarily punishing us. He may just be disciplining us to keep us on the right path that He wants best for our lives. Or He might actually bless us what we're asking for in the future. So don't think just because you're not getting your cell phone or your home or whatever else right now does not mean you're never going to get it, and it does not mean that God is punishing you, because God just doesn't do that to us. I mean, obviously there's consequences to our actions, but it's not like God is not punishing us because we're wanting something like a cell phone or a home. Don't have that mindset. God actually wants us to be generous with the stuff He has already blessed us with. So we can, turn around, help someone with our possessions, and then whoever we help can give God the praise. We can make a difference in someone's life, or we can just make a difference in their day by being a blessing to someone with something that we own, like a tool or a car or a camera or some other possession that we may have. If we help them with that, we'll make a difference in their lives, and we're giving God the praise. Also, when we communicate with people and sharing our possessions with them, we are also given opportunities to share the gospel with people. So God definitely enjoys when we do stuff like that, especially with the stuff that He's already blessed us with. In the end, God will definitely reward us for what we have done with what He has given us. So that's definitely how we can use our possessions in a godly way.